4.
Looks like shit.
It does look like shit.
Okay.
Greetings, sci-fi legends, Morlocks, and 50 Shades of Technicolor, to the 143rd episode of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 27th of January 2016, and featuring Timelash, written by Glenn McCoy, and of course starring Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant. We've had 4 of us with technical difficulties so far, and 1 to go. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
Crunch one more time, I dare you.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
I'm not having technical issues tonight, I swear.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke.
I muted my mic.
And Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Let's do the time lash again.
Let's not say we did.
Oh. I warned y'all. I warned you, but would you listen to me? Oh, no.
Fun fact, I don't remember anything from this episode.
Because you have oppressed it. Now you have to remember it all. Good luck.
Okay. A reminder, guys, before we actually start ranting against this episode, we do have news to cover first, and we have a lot of news today.
Oh, yes. News might just run long, and they're not talking about extra sci-fi news.
Well, that's good, because I'm pretty sure the episode's going to be hated it out. But let's go ahead and start the news. First of all, of course, we start with birthdays, and we have only one birthday to talk about right now, and that's the birthday of the War Doctor, John Hurt. John Hurt turned 76 on the 22nd of January.
I loved your Big Finish box set. Now you need to get Chris Eccleston to join you.
Yes, that'd be great. But, yes, happy birthday, John.
Yay!
We have no lost stories this week, thankfully. Instead, all the news lies elsewhere, and with our first major article, and hopefully keeping her away from her ice, take it away, Aaron.
All right, future episode news. So only one episode in 2016-2017 to be Moffat's last. On Friday, Doctor Who News tells us the BBC dropped a series of bombs on the Doctor Who fandom. Number 1 was the confirmation that there will be no Series 10 in 2016. Only the annual Christmas special will air. This is partly because of the airing of the new Doctor Who spin-off Class.
I guess they stop us from calling it an 18-month hiatus by throwing a Christmas special in there.
Yeah, that is quite a long hiatus.
Yeah, they don't want to call it that because the fans will riot on them.
Yep. The other part is the second bomb dropped today. Series 10, now scheduled for spring at 2017, will be Stephen Moffat's final. That's right, while we here at AUP have been clamoring for Moffat to step down since our first podcast back in 2012, he's choosing to leave just when we were beginning to like him. Or at least we do if he kept up his current winning streak anyway.
All he has to do is survive one more season and a special.
Mm-hmm.
That means that if he did that, he would have done more good than bad, but...
Yeah. He would have redeemed himself in the fans' eyes.
No kidding,
point,
right?
anyway.
Especially
least
after
our
that
eyes.
first, especially after
Because
that second.
he had one mediocre first season, a horrible 2 seasons, and now we've gotten a mediocre season and a good season. So he's almost broken even.
Of course, his next season will be I don't give a fuck, I can't get fired. So that could be it could be a really good thing or a really dreadful thing.
Yeah, it could be really good, or it could be all River Song all the time.
River Song
just-
is the new
Did you
It's
Doctor.
just
remember
River
that
Song
clip
and
with
Peter
Deadpool
Capaldi
crying as he
snogging
shoots himself in the
for
temples?
13
That's
hours.
me right now.
Mhm.
Now, does this mean he's gonna have more time to devote to Sherlock?
I don't know. That's up to the BBC.
It
I
also
heard
means-
I heard he has other projects in mind, but I don't know what they are. If so,
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Maybe Peter Capaldi will regenerate into River Song.
Oh God!
The-
Please don't give him ideas.
the third and
Again,
final.
that scene with
The third
Deadpool
and
crying
final
as he puts a
bomb.
gun to his head.
The third and final bomb dropped by the BBC was the announcement of Moffat's replacement, Chris Chibnall. I almost called him Chinball.
Quick,
That's-
Kay! It's a Balchidian.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's Men in Black 2, not Doctor Who.
Or Butters on that one episode of South Park. I wore balls on my chin for him. Chris is no stranger to Doctor Who, having been Russell T Davies' equivalent of Mark Gatiss and having written for both Davies and Moffat, as well as for Torchwood. However, Chris's Doctor Who entries have been hit or miss thus far. Chibnall's, goddammit, I almost did it again. Chibnall, his first entry was in Torchwood, where he wrote the episodes Day 1, Cyberwoman, Countryside, and End of Days, before moving to Doctor Who to write the episode 42. Chris then went back to Torchwood to write the Series 2 opener, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and final 3 episodes of that series, Adrift, Fragments, and Exit Wounds. He then went on to become the lead writer for the first series of Law & Order UK. Most recently, Chibnall has been showrunner for the award-winning series Broadchurch, starring former 10th Doctor David Tennant. Let's hope he brings his Broadchurch game to Doctor Who.
Yes.
Let's hope.
It is of note that it seems as though he was in all but named the showrunner of the first 2 seasons of Torchwood, which means that he did have some producing and head writing experience in a Doctor Who spin-off before moving on to Law and Order, which had enough cast members to be a Doctor Who spin-off, and Broadchurch ditto.
Well,
And
the
now
thing-
he's coming back full circle to Doctor
Well,
Who.
the thing is, Law and Order UK, whether it was Doctor Who actors or not was not the important part, and he wasn't the showrunner. He was
Okay.
hired by the showrunners to take episodes of the classic Law and Order series and rewrite them to fit the UK judicial system. So most of Law and Order UK were rewrites of Law and Order.
Gotcha.
So that was his job there. Somebody else was actually doing the who's going to be in it and who's going to be in what parts and that kind of thing. So that was his only job in Law and Order. I also didn't add to this that he did write episodes for Moffat during this time. He wrote the first episodes with the Silurians in Series 5. And
Those were
Which was not a bad
alright.
2-parter, in my opinion.
what was it that he also wrote? Because he wrote one more.
Oh, he wrote Dinosaurs on a Spaceship and
Yes.
The Power of 3.
Oh yes.
Which neither of those were my favorite episodes.
I liked
so-
I liked the addition of the new character in Dinosaurs in a Spaceship. Um,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he
Rory's
wrote
dad.
he wrote the unaired or the unfilmed PS epilogue featuring Brian Williams to
At the end of
Take
Angels.
Manhattan.
yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he did some good there, but
Yes.
Power of 3 was atrocious.
Power of 3 was atrociously, awfully bland. And the Doctor was a giant child.
Yeah. So he kind of had done some of the best and some of the worst. He's fortunately not responsible for freaking Journey to the Center of the TARDIS.
But he is responsible for Cyberwoman.
Yes. And we reviewed that not even a year ago, so you can look that up and
And I
see
think
what we
it's in
thought.
our bottom 10.
On
It
the,
might be
other,
in our
on, the,
bottom-
on the other hand, at Torchwood, he also wrote my favorite episode of Torchwood, Countryside.
Yeah, that's an odd mix for him.
Why did you do that? Because it makes me happy. Ugh. Still creeps me out to this day.
Yes.
All right, so moving on.
Moving on. Well, Steve Moffat took time off from his very busy schedule to answer some questions that people had about the episode Heaven Sent. Such as why didn't the diamond wall reset along with the rest of the castle? Who painted the picture of Clara? Where did the first set of dry clothes come from? And so on. And the answers just might shock you. Well, probably not, but they might make you go, huh.
If you remember, a lot of these questions actually came up during our review of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly the diamond wall.
Particularly the diamond wall. That was a brain crusher for a lot of us. And we kind of declared bullshit on hand wavy.
Yes. And according to Moffat, the diamond wall is not a room in the castle, it's the outer wall of the confession dial. The clue is that it's 20 feet of harder than diamond. Why bother making it so hard if a resetting stone wall would do?
That was a little, I think, too subtle a clue for most people to pick up on.
Yeah, that was. But I can see it now.
Yeah. Now that he says it, I can see it. But there really wasn't the clue he was looking for in the episode.
Yeah.
If they had mentioned either in this episode or in one of the early ones that the confession dial was made of whatever the material was that they called this harder than diamond, that would have been a clue. But there was no such information dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Other times is other plot holes brought up is in the story, the Doctor dives into a pond to escape the monster's veil, and then he finds an identical dry set of clothes for him to try on. But who put them there? Did the Time Lords happen to know his inseam, or did one respawn of the Doctor take off his clothes and just run around naked? Well, thank you for that mental image. Moffat claims that showrunners have been executed for less.
Oh, please. This is the same Moffat that had frickin' Matt Smith and Jenna Coleman wander around naked in Time of the Doctor, much to Bill's dismay.
Very much to Bill's dismay.
But Moffat says that the first few times the Doctor went into that room with his clothes, he merely found a generic pair of clothes in his size and later changed back into his normal ones. But then one time he didn't make it back to them. And then the next time around, the Doctor finds his own clothes drawing for him. The loop is complete, the end now triggers the beginning, and that makes it permanent.
Not quite a bootstrap paradox, because there's a beginning, but it becomes close.
Now that I've heard that explanation, I think I need to have someone explain the explanation to me.
Okay.
Essentially, one of the doctors that survived found another different pair of clothes there originally, left his clothes, and that doctor died. Another doctor didn't make it, and so for all the other doctors from then on found another pair of his own clothes already dried, waiting.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently the doctors kept getting there in time before the room reset, or because it's the doctor's clothes, the clothes don't reset.
They do mention a few times that the reset is kind of wonky and not complete, such as Clara's painting, or one of the next ones with the clues and such. So I guess the idea is just that the reset is kind of rubbish, and the Doctor is very lucky that it worked the way he supposed it did.
So it still basically boils down to that stuff stayed there because I said so.
Stayed there because hand wavy, because Moffat's an asshole like that. Arg. Screw you, Moffat.
Okay. So
at least the main one that we had the biggest issue with is actually got a
the wall
answer.
Yep. Like I said, I think if they had added one line of text, like in the first couple of episodes of the season, when they first showed us the confession dial.
Or if the Doctor himself, while punching the wall, would have actually noted the fact that this could be the outside of the dial.
No, that would have been too obvious.
Or
But
just
if they had
something.
mentioned the composition of the confession dial in the first episode, it would have become a Chekhov's gun. And I would have been fine with that.
True. If it would have been used a little bit earlier, it could have held on to something there. But even at the last minute, if nothing else, for the sake of the episode, clarifying it.
Right.
It wouldn't have been perfect,
Also,
but it would have been better than nothing.
He goes on to say that the time loop kept getting tighter, is the word he uses, and that's why the Doctor begins leaving clues, such as the missing paving slab written on with chalk that told the Doctor where to find the diamond exit in room 12.
That sounds ridiculous.
Well, he left clues, and that's why it started getting tighter. He kind of said that a little backward. Basically, what he's saying is that the first cycle, the Doctor was wandering around for thousands of years, which is why he had time to do things like paint a painting of Clara. And then eventually, as he started leaving clues for himself, it started, taking days or weeks instead of years to make his way to room 12.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say thousands of years, but he spent a great deal of time.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been interesting if he'd actually regenerated while in there, and you'd had another Doctor wandering around at one point.
Yeah, we could just bring in cameos of people like David Warner or somebody.
Yeah, at the same time, it's a good thing, because otherwise that'd be, hey, why didn't he regenerate into that time? Like the Valeyard. Okay.
That who?
We'll get into him when we tell with Trial of a Time Lord.
We'll deal with him again later.
I'll explain later.
So the loop shrinks, the Doctor is younger as he punches the wall, and the Time Lord trembles as the storm grows closer, Moffat concluded. So there you have it, incredibly complicated answers for incredibly complicated questions.
All right. So let's move on to more news. Bill?
Okay. Forgot I had news because there's so few articles and so many of them are errands.
I have all the articles.
When did she
All the
become
good
lead
ones.
anchor?
When the die roll made her. Not even the die roll, just the order of the news.
Luck
Via
of the
Doctor
Irish.
Who News, Germany brings us two pieces of news that are of note to Doctor Who fans in the region. Doctor Who has been on subscription-only channels in Germany since it was canceled from Pro 7 due to low ratings in 2008, but beginning the 29th of February, and no, that's not a hoax, it is leap year, Doctor Who Series 5 will be airing 7 episodes a week, Monday through Thursday, on Eins Festival. This will continue at least through Series 6 and 7. The second piece of news from Germany is that after the success of Timelash, the unofficial German Doctor Who convention last October, not the Sixth Doctor serial, there will be a second event on the 15th and 16th of October 2016, once again in Kassel, Germany. Tickets are on sale on the Timelash homepage to the convention, which will feature Sophie Aldred, Fraser Hines, Toby Hadoke, Phil Collinson, Robert Shearman, Gareth Roberts, Peter Harness, and more guests from classic and modern Who to be announced.
Okay, question. Why do you name a convention after this piece of shit?
Meh.
They named their convention after the episode we're reviewing tonight.
Oh, God.
You didn't know that?
Oh.
I mean, there's
I didn't
so
hear what the
much
convention
better
name was.
episodes that you could have named a series from.
Maybe they want people to think that H.G. Wells will show up.
Yes.
When we first announced Timelash last year, my thought was, why the hell did they name it a convention after this?
Actually, I think last year when they announced it, you said the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we get to prove it. Because now we get to talk about this episode, and we'll talk about how bad it is when we're done with the news. Speaking of which, According to Doctor Who News, just recently, they tell us that Peter Capaldi, with the UN Refugee Agency, has visited refugee camps in Jordan. Capaldi recorded a video with footage from the visit and narration, during which he does not ask anybody their name and tell them they aren't going to die today. That would have actually been kind of funny. United Nations High Commission for Refugees, or UNHCR, is currently assisting 6,300,000 Syrian refugees living in Jordan.
630,000. You
Sorry,
added a couple zeros there.
Sorry, 630,000. That's because I hit that zero and my brain skipped sideways.
Yeah.
So I'm reporting it in binary. That's what I'm doing in my class.
Snoogie.
You don't even want to know what that number would be
When
in
someone
binary.
says binary, my brain skips to the scene of Donna Noble getting stuck on words.
Anytime somebody says binary or bit, I tend to think of the scene from the original Tron. Yes. No. In fact, I was smirking my entire class because of that.
Teachers got to wonder about you at some point, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay, yes, 630 Syrian refugees living in Jordan. All right, moving on.
Woohoo! It's my time to shine. All right, media releases video. Doctor Who to move from Netflix and Hulu. All right, so yeah, Doctor Who will possibly to leave Netflix in the U.S. I think that's pretty much confirmed that it is leaving Netflix, right?
Yes, I
Yes.
actually told Bill to remove the possibly from that news article because there's no possibly about it now.
There's also mentioned there are still reasons to be skeptical, except that there aren't any more reasons to be skeptical, right?
BBC has said what's happening.
Yeah.
They've said what's happening to series 7 through 9. They have not confirmed what's happening to the first 6.
Okay. We must have seen the announcement that Doctor Who was leaving Netflix at least half a dozen times since the beginning of this podcast, but Nerdist.com brings us sources from within Netflix that say that as of now, while the UK and Canada are maintaining access to Doctor Who, the TARDIS is dematerializing from the streaming service in the US as of February 1st. Netflix CS, an account verified by Twitter and hopefully not notorious Facebook troll Ben Palmer, had this to say. Sometimes the licensing for our content will expire and we have to remove it, but we're always happy to work on getting it. Netflix has about half a week to get this negotiation under control if they're going to keep Doctor Who on hand. However, other developments indicate this may not be the case. Alright. Moving on, BBC Worldwide to announce new streaming location for Doctor Who. Decider.com tells us that not only is Doctor Who poised to leave Netflix, but also Hulu Plus, and that there's a reason why. According to a BBC spokesperson, American fans will be able to stream series 7 through 9 on bbcamerica.com, and that the show will still be available through Amazon Video, iTunes, Google Play, and similar platforms. Decider suggests that Netflix or Hulu may be signing a deal to stream the rest of the series exclusively, but the BBC have confirmed that they are preparing their own subscription service, which they will be announcing more details on near the time of launch.
You know, I actually did predict this. I predicted this, I believe, last September when we first announced that the BBC was preparing a new streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
I actually said that part of the things that they would have to do to make it viable is getting their key big game series back under their control and make it their exclusives, at least for the first few years.
So we have you to blame for this, Ryan, huh?
I was predicting. I'm pretty sure their business model would have realized this when they did it.
Well, we have no idea what to do with our streaming service, but this one guy on a podcast in America.
Have you seen this podcast, man?
Doctor
Yeah,
Who show
I
back.
feel like if they were getting all of their ideas from us, we'd have more followers.
and not like the 5 people we have that actually watch us. Is it?
Depends upon who you ask, because I have at least a good several people who keep showing up to even show just our watch just our openings. By the way, the opening today got like 11 views within the first hour.
But
Something about Timelash apparently got people's interest, I think.
But I'm pretty sure of the people that are watching, none of them happen to work at the BBC.
Well, it's Timelash. How can you resist?
How can you resist the mental poison?
But it makes sense from a business platform. Unfortunately, from what I hear, is the fact that they have given exclusive rights to Netflix to do Sherlock. They have given out rights to some of their other big shows that they can't get back right now. And that means
It's okay, but by the time the next season of Sherlock comes around, Netflix might have gone out of business. It could be that long, so who knows?
Or have been replaced. I am still waiting for the great merger of Netflix and Hulu. So it becomes like...
I'm hoping that doesn't happen, because then every time I watch a movie, I'll have to sit through 10 commercials.
What?
Not if you pay for Hulu's commercial-free option.
They have that now, because last I heard, even if you paid money for Hulu, you still had to watch commercials.
God damn it, you ruined my joke.
Oh.
Dang.
I was saying, the merger of Netflix and Hulu into NetHulu.
Oh, sorry.
But no, yeah, if you regular Hulu Plus with the commercials is $8.99 a month. If you want commercial-free Hulu, you have to pay $11.99 a month, which we are now doing.
Yeah, I have Prime. I'm not paying for a third video service, especially since I still get to stream Doctor Who on it.
Yeah, I'm looking into what this is going to mean for us, because this is going to make some of our upcoming reviews a pain in the ass. It's already hard enough when we review Classic Who to make sure everybody gets a hold of it, but now we're going to have to be sitting here for because we're doing some stuff from Series 4 in about 4 weeks.
Don't you have the Khan's Doctor Who set, or no?
I have the Khan only owns the Doctor Who sets from Series 5 and up.
Oh, I thought it had the full 1 through 7.
No, I've wanted to get that box set for a while, and I may actually do it this year for no other reason than to actually have it. It depends on how much my other fees are. Anyway, but it's going to make it hard for us when we go to watch things like episodes from Series 3 or Series 4, because previously it's like it's on Netflix or it's on Hulu, and people could just punch it up and watch it. But now, people are going to have to scramble to find copies of these elsewhere. And that's going to make it more difficult, and I'm slightly annoyed at the BBC for it, but I did kind of expect this, so... Ah, well. C'est la vie.
Right. And I'm trying to open up my next article, but my computer is stuck on the Radio Times article now.
The Radio Times cool thing in the universe. It eats.
Radio Times hates you.
But I remember that the article was about how Adric is coming to the Big Finish.
Would you like me to take it over since I have it open?
Could you?
Okay. Adric, I believe, has appeared in the 4th Doctor Adventures or the Companion Chronicles. I forget which, possibly both at this point. But he is confirmed for 2 new monthly short trips coming in 2016 and 2017. The first story is A Full Life, written by Torchwood, Sarah Jane Adventures, and Wizards vs. Alien writer Joseph Lidster, and sees the Doctor, Romana, and Adric arriving on an E-space planet where the dead come to life.
Oh.
Adric also returns in Julian Richards' Doctor Who, The Ingenious Gentleman Adric of Elzarius. This is a romantic fantasy in the literary sense, while also giving us a real chance to get into Adric's head and see what he made of his TARDIS companions and regenerated best friend. It's hilarious, but has the habit of sneaking up on you now and again with perfectly pitched sentiment. Matthew would be working away in the booth, and we'd be welling up outside. I really like the idea Julian came up with, and like all really good short stories, it works on a number of levels. So if it's regenerated, I take it that means it's between the Visitation and Earthshock.
Or between For the Doomsday and the Visitation.
Or actually, I'm sorry, Black Orchid is in there, isn't it?
It can happen anytime between Castrovalva and
Yeah,
Earthshock,
okay.
really.
Yeah, they don't all run together. Although it would be funny if it happens before the Visitation, because then we'd have the fifth Doctor of the Sonic.
We never know.
The release dates for both stories will be revealed at a later date. The monthly short trips continue this month with Jenny T. Colgan's Gardens of the Dead, featuring the return of fellow teenage companion Turlo.
Turlo. The whiny one. Wait till we review the Black Guardian trilogy, because he comes off as a whiny prat in that, he really does.
He comes off as a Weasley bastard is what I remember him for until the very end.
Yeah, I always thought he was kind of Weasley too.
Weasley, and then he becomes whiny. I mean, well, think of him in the Five Doctors.
I honestly don't remember any major problems with him in the Five Doctors.
I don't remember him doing anything in the Five Doctors.
That's true too. He was maybe there for like a little bit at the beginning.
The first Doctor is like, yes, I'm rather famished and my friend is too. Could you hand us some refreshment? Tegan knows where the refreshments is. Turlo will help.
Oh no, that's
Thank
right.
you.
That's right. The first Doctor told Tegan to get it, and in order to calm her down, Fifth was like, Turlo will help you.
And then he's just like, thank you.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite scenes in the Five Doctors, by the way.
It looks like we actually do have time to mention what Arthur Darvill and Rachel Talalay are up to.
Yeah, well, we managed to get through it relatively fast.
You're welcome.
You only had one article, Bill. So go ahead.
Okay. First off is that Legends of Tomorrow, with Arthur Darvill as the lead, has aired its first episode last week.
Well, technically half its first episode. Yeah. It's pilot part 1 was last week. Pilot part.
Either way, it was an episode length. I honestly didn't realize that was the case. I just figured
it was a thing.
Realized, but
it was a 2-parter, and it's part 1 of it.
Got you. I don't know if we're spoiling it at this point, but I think the general internet reaction was pretty positive.
Actually, internet reaction's mixed.
Really?
Yes.
I've seen a lot of people that really liked it and other people that liked it, but if you've seen some negative...
I've been, I pay attention to aggregator sites.
Okay.
And while The Flash, Supergirl, and Arrow tends to be in the high 90s for their appreciation index, Legends of Tomorrow, based on the first episode's in the 50s.
Really? Did you see any comments as to why?
They really felt like the episode that didn't go enough into the characters themselves. It didn't give them a purpose for being there. It really felt like they were sticking with the team because, hey, it's a team show kind of thing.
And I can kind of see that. But one of the comparisons I saw was it's like Power Rangers meets Doctor Who. Which I could kind of see. I mean, it's certainly a collection of overbearing and over-emotional humans.
Yep.
To quote Zordon.
Don't you mean Teenagers with Attitude?
I do have one thing that I know. No, Teenagers with Attitude is never what he actually told Alpha to go find.
Only in the opening.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh. I did realize this after the fact. That kind of disturbed me, but it's something I should have noticed months ago. Is that the fact that it's like what the main stars are like 7 guys and 2 women. It's a little unbalanced, and I hope season 2 does something to balance that a little bit. But it all depends on what the plot goes. That doesn't make or break the show on its own. But it's something that I kind of noticed that was like, what in the world? But for myself, I enjoyed the episode. I did find myself like catching Doctor Who parallels like every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Bill and I kind of shared a little Facebook bit on this. He mentioned one thing, and I mentioned he mentioned the fact that, oh, look, his ship has a chameleon circuit that works. And I'm like, technically it's a cloaking device, but it's on a ship that he stole from his Time Master superiors.
So we're giving spoilers.
Oh yeah, we're gonna spoiler this.
Yep.
Sorry.
Sorry, I did put spoiler markers in my Facebook post, but yeah.
Make sure to put spoiler markers in the description for the video, guys. Warning: Legends of Tomorrow spoilers.
If you haven't watched it yet, why haven't you?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's free on CWTV.
Yes, it's free on CWTV. It's around here. They've repeated it twice now because there was kind of an issue with Flash last week. The CW here preempted Flash for a basketball game, as well as the behind the scenes for Legends of Tomorrow. And Channel 57's received some massive negative backlash about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't even a local involved basketball game.
Yeah.
It's like, why the hell are you showing this when you're premiering stuff and stuff is coming and major shows are coming off of their mid-season breaks?
Since we're also mentioning Flash, now might be a good time to mention that Rachel Talalay, who directed the season finales of both Series 8 and Series 9, I almost said 9 and 10 because it feels like it's been that long, is going to be directing an episode of The Flash and the finale for Legends of Tomorrow. I guess she's been typecast into directing finales for time travel shows.
Well, the episode of The Flash, Fastlane, is actually the one due out next week.
Okay.
So, that's nowhere going to be near the Flash finale. And but she is directing the finale.
Is that the one that's supposed to be involving Deathstorm, or is that a different one?
I honestly don't know.
Deathstorm. That's an interesting one.
Evil Firestorm.
Oh. Ooh. Cool.
No, I don't remember because our DVR I didn't actually see the next episode trailer.
DVR cut it off.
No, our DVR didn't get it. I had to watch it off of Hulu.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But Hulu didn't have the next episode trailer.
I'm surprised Hulu let you watch it because at least last time I went to Hulu, they directed me to CW. Either that or they were a week behind and I didn't want to wait for one of the two. Unless you have Hulu Plus.
We have Hulu Plus. We have
that would explain.
We have commercials free Hulu Plus, which is why I'm watching the hell out of it.
So you don't have to wait a week to watch the latest episode on Hulu like I would.
Yeah, we have Hulu Plus.
So we can now. I personally wouldn't pay for Hulu Plus commercial free myself, but Aaron decided to, and I'm like, well, we have it.
Yeah.
I don't actually see any description for Fastlane yet, so I can't tell you what it's about. I can tell you that the next 3 episodes are Fastlane, Welcome to Earth 2, and Escape from Earth 2. And goddamn it,
so
Kurt Russell has to
and
cameo.
Escape from Earth 2 are probably the ones with Deathstorm and Killer Frost.
Damn it, Escape from Earth 2 has to have Kurt Russell as a cameo somewhere.
But he can't, Randy, because he's going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
So, we've had characters that have been on the DC and the Marvel side.
I'm sure Ryan Reynolds gives a giant fuck, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna
no
say,
shit.
and I can.
Well, they
I'm
already
saying
shit
it
on
that
his
way
character,
because I'm sure
so-
Deadpool would say it that way, and so would Hannibal King.
We've had some characters that have been on both sides of the Marvel and the DC universe. But this would be Kurt Russell as Snake Plissken. Come on. It's an escape from. It has to be there.
Or at least Fox and DC, but I'm sure there have been other. Actually, no. Come to think of it, Reynolds has been in Marvel, Fox, and DC at this point.
Yep. Wait, what has he been in?
Blade-
What has he been in Marvel?
Blade Trinity was Marvel,
Oh.
even though it was before the MCU, but it was still Marvel.
Eh.
It had the Marvel opening and everything.
So does Fox. So does that. Who did Blade Trinity? Because wasn't that New Line?
I think that might have been, yeah.
So it doesn't count as being part of the MCU.
Currently, we're
count
not
as being
sure.
part of the
We
Fox.
haven't really seen hide nor hair of Blade yet in the MCU, so
Yes, but
if
I hate
Blade
when
literally
IMDb
walks out and
does
it's
this.
the same actors
pulled-
and everything, then yeah, it's part of MCU then.
I pulled up
but-
a link for Blade Trinity on IMDb. It was the Bad Movie Beatdown review of it. New Line, yes. It was New Line, and it was written, of course, by Batman writer David Goyer,
so
who
I-
basically wrote the same Blade movie 3 times with minor changes.
So you really can't count him as being part of the MCU yet.
Not
You
as
can't-
of yet.
You can't say that. You can't say that Ryan Reynolds has been part of the MCU. He's been in the DC universe as fucking Green Lantern. He was in Fox before as bad Deadpool. And now he's
Yes.
coming back as actual Deadpool.
Right.
Yeah, and with the reactions of current Deadpool, do you think he really wants to go back to being Green Lantern at all?
No,
Really?
but I want to see it in an upcoming Deadpool movie where Deadpool fights Badpool. What the hell?
What are you, dude? What are
And you know what?
Why
Deadpool
do you have
is
no
meta
mouth?
enough that they don't have to work too hard to get that to work.
I know that. I
Did he,
really,
like-
really know that.
Being Deadpool, he could be watching. He could be like pick up a DVD. What the fuck is this? Put it in his DVD player. Is that supposed to be fucking me? Pull the guy out of the TV and fight him.
Mhm.
You don't even have a mouth, bitch! Poof!
That's super.
The merc with a mouth. That's
Has no
sewn
mouth.
Shut.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But yes, there. Regardless of whatever you hear, Legends of Tomorrow, Rip Hunter is very Doctor Who. He's so much Doctor Who that what I predicted to Bill was that somewhere along the series, Arthur Darvill will be mortally wounded and forced to change his appearance into Noel Clark.
I wonder
He
if they're gonna-
also in the future that they're trying to abort, he has a dead wife. I'm kind of waiting for the season finale to be like, oh yeah, it's Karen Gillan and she's alive now.
No, a dead wife and child.
No, we actually see them in the first 5 minutes of the episode, Bill.
The child would have grown up to be David Tennant playing Booster Gold.
Booster Gold, I think, is Rip Hunter's father, though.
Is
That
it?
was
I
my
thought Rip
first
Hunter was-
thought too.
Hunter was Booster Gold's father.
When I was researching them, I thought it was the other way around. But
I
that
think you
Hunter
got
was-
confused,
Hunter
Bill.
was Booster Gold's boss, but also his son, secretly.
That might actually be.
Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly.
When I type Rip Hunter Booster Gold into Google, it says Rip Hunter, son of Booster Gold, so I'm thinking that might be confirmation.
Yes, Rip is revealed to be that of Booster Gold's yet to be born son. So
Which we're still hoping is, I almost said Malcolm Reynolds, is Nathan Fillion.
yeah, Nathan has Booster Gold. I can see it because he could just go Captain Hammer on it. Come on, you want to see this? You all want to see this?
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
love it,
my
love it,
goodness.
me! Punches through a car.
Anyway, that's pretty much the news we have. As we mentioned, series have come off of hiatus now.
Yep.
Oh God, have they?
Yeah.
Well, except for Doctor Who.
I'm liking Agent Carter.
Supergirl is fun watching.
So
I'm
Supergirl
kind
is
of
warmed
annoyed
up
with
to you.
Supergirl because I'm trying so far sticking to legal means, but between now having actual cable that I can go to their website and look, so far still I can only access the 3 most recent episodes and the pilot with nothing in between on any site that I look for it, unless I like purchase additional subscriptions for specific sites.
It's not on Hulu Plus at all.
Yeah, we noticed that CBS doesn't put it at all on Hulu. I'm like, what the hell, CBS? Every other network's on there.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell's up with you?
Oh.
But
when I looked for it on Hulu, it was telling me to subscribe.
No, it's not on there.
Oh.
We just did a search for it like a week ago at best and couldn't find it. So it's not there. It's not on Netflix. But we're really liking it, so that's another good watch. Heroes Reborn is done, and there's not going to be any more.
Was that last week? I must have missed an episode then. I thought it was tomorrow.
Nope, it's done.
Okay, so I must not have watched that episode and thought that I had. So I'll be watching that then.
Okay.
That is on Hulu. So
Okay. Muppets come back next week.
Is it a good ending? Without spoilers.
Bittersweet.
So probably pretty good. If you've been liking the rest of it so far, I would assume.
I will just say that yes, they win, but there is a cost. That's all I will say.
Since we're on general, I recently listened to The Worlds of Big Finish thanks to the Humble Bundle Doctor Who package. I hadn't listened to any of the ranges featured in it before, and I've got to say, I'm definitely interested in listening to a few of them now. My literal only complaint about it's a 6-part story. I think it's 6 30 or 40-minute episodes. My only complaint is the framing device involves what we used to call a bootstrap paradox, but apparently it's now called a Moffat loop. The fact that it involves something that should be perishable kind of raises an eyebrow from me, but I'm kind of used to things like that happening from Big Finish, so I can kind of look past that. The rest of the story is really good, and it does what it intends to do in getting you interested in other ranges. Also, Iris Wildtime was nowhere near as annoying as I expected her to be just from hearing descriptions, so that was good.
It might have just been that particular audio. She's particularly annoying in others.
Gotcha.
Oh well. So, who's going to do the short review this week?
Yeah, it's about time for the 5-minute challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, taking volunteers.
I will do it if there's nobody else. I think
I
it's been a while.
I would prefer not to because I don't know if I could keep the venom out of my voice when reviewing this episode.
I just don't know if I can remember. I think I have 5 sentences written about this episode all told.
I could at least expand upon it to 10.
So, hang on, let me get the stopwatch up, Matt.
Okie doke. Let me get our tile card up then. Since I won't have the stopwatch in front of me.
All right, tell me when you're ready.
Okay, give me a moment. My most important thing is I need to remember names. I guess I'll just come up with nicknames.
Generally what I do if I'm trying to review it and I can't remember.
If you forget Herbert's name, I hope you can remember his last name.
God damn it. Herbert. Okay, so yeah, I should be ready.
All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
We more or less start off the story with the Doctor and Perry traveling as they usually do in the TARDIS, and as usual, something seems to go wrong. So there seems to be a different time vortex door opening, and they're having a hard time trying to get around it. The Doctor starts to struggle with this as we see what's going on the other side, which is on another planet, apparently one that the Doctor has previously visited as the Third Doctor, and the local people have recently been experimenting with time and are using a thing called the Timelash, which is essentially a open doorway to time, and then pushing people through it in order to apparently punish them instead of giving them a death sentence, or at least a normal one. To this, a couple of people recently got captured, one of which was abducted by a mechanoid or a cyborg or something. I forget what they called them. But
Android. It was an android.
It was actually an android. Okay. She was abducted and brought into a private back room where she screamed just shortly before being zapped by the person she was screaming at. To which the other two were captured by the normal guards and were brought forth for trial, which ended rather abruptly and very quickly, as they really didn't give them any time to really defend themselves, and both of which were pushed quickly into the Timelash. Their leader calls them up on their communication screen and kind of bitterly acknowledges that they should have given him the choice to decide what they should have been done, but left him with that and nothing more. Apparently, a lot of the higher ups in the on this planet are actually planning to rebel against the main head because they feel that he is slowly pulling them apart, and also has been recently starting to cook up a war with one of their previous allies, of whom they actually made food for, and have suddenly stopped giving them the said food and starving the planet to death. So, as they're trying to find a way to stop all this, one of the daughter of the previous figurehead is pushed through and ends up passing through the TARDIS just as the TARDIS is about to land on the planet. The Doctor finally comes out and recognizes the place as he watches it on the monitor and greets the new head, who is the scientist, who I'm going to refer to as Asshole, because that's what he is throughout most of this. He's a slimy asshole.
The guy that becomes the leader?
Yeah, the new leader.
Tecker.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now I'm remembering. Yeah, Tecker. So Tecker starts this really sleazy walk around the place, and within about 5 minutes starts to threaten the Doctor to go help get the woman that fell through the Timelash, because she also took a medallion with her, which is supposed to be what is used to allow their main figurehead, their main actual leader, the power that he needs to conduct his experiments, apparently, which he is trying to do in order to help protect everyone. The Doctor is questioning why until the guy mentions the fact that he sent Perry on a walk and says for the safety of Perry that he should do it. In the meantime, Perry has managed to get outside of the main citadel where all this has been going on and actually meets a bunch of renegades. She is helped by one of them when they show her a locket which has Joe Grant, I think was on it.
Yes.
And they decide that they figured that, well, since the Doctor's there, obviously the Doctor is there to help them, and they should also help the Doctor escape from their enemies to try and figure out what they're going to do next. The Doctor finally goes through time, meets a Harold Wells. Was it Harold? Herbert Wells, and after
Come
a bit
on,
of...
Matt. You can't remember the
I'm trying
name
to move
Herbert?
quickly now. Shh. After a bit of very bad comedic timing with Herbert, he finally takes Herbert, who sneaks into the TARDIS from the back door of his house, and the woman with him, and they head back to her planet in the proper time, and end up being caught by the main bad guys again. They take the medallion and they threaten to push the Doctor to the Timelash, which ends the first episode. The Doctor then uses a mirror to confuse the android and pushes it into the Timelash instead of himself, and they start fighting off the guards and lock off the room. The Doctor then proceeds to do some weird thing where he slowly goes into the Timelash instead of being pushed into it, and he grabs some crystals. This part never made sense to me, even the first time, much less the third time. And he comes back with them, but he uses the crystals that he managed to get out of there in order to create a gun as well as a mechanism around his neck in order to help him become temporarily invisible and leap forward by 10 seconds in time. The weapon, on the other hand, was meant to essentially take any energy that was shot at it and repel it right back at the source that it came from. This causes a android to catch on fire, which was also then sent back through time to appear in the previous episode, just randomly sitting there on fire. This also wipes out a couple of guards and continues to secure the Citadel. They managed to finally overwhelm everything up until the main two guys who are hiding away in the back room again. And the aliens from the other planet are actually about to attack with a weapon that should wipe out all the living creatures on the planet, but leave the cities and the crops intact. Henceforth getting the food that they were coming for, because otherwise they're going to starve to death. The Doctor manages to kill the main bad guy, who turns out to be a person who is part Morlocks, which are the creatures that live apparently in the underground of this particular planet. He's killed in the end mostly by his own sheer greed, but also because the Doctor was not going to give him mercy after giving him enough mercy tries. They managed to stop. The Doctor decides to sacrifice himself in order to stop the missile launched by the aliens by accident, to which they cannot apparently avoid sending it now because it's already too late. He uses the TARDIS, it crashes into it, but he manages to apparently avoid destruction by doing something with the TARDIS, but he will explain later, apparently. We come back to the planet again, only to find that the twisted scientist that's half Morlocks tries to capture Perry again, because apparently he decided that Perry should be his bride-to-be, and will try this experiment to combine her with another Morlocks again. In the scuffle, they manage to break a previous portrait of the Third Doctor and reveal a mirror, which then forces the guy to freak out, and they shove him into the Timelash, and pieces abound, and everything's back to the way it should be, and that's more or less the end of the story.
All right.
Hooray!
Just a hodgepodge mess.
I'm awarding you 10 seconds for things that we had to interrupt to clarify during it. Even so, you did it in 6 minutes, 56 seconds.
There's no way to do that one short. It's just such a jumbled mess. There are so many issues I have with this story.
All right, well, you have to now pick something you like, Matt.
Okay, the one thing I did like, I liked the main evil scientist guy that's half Morlocks. I can't remember his name right now.
The Borad.
The Borad.
It's a nice.
Yeah, that was what I wanted to do for an opening bump, but the reveal scene was far too boring for it. I wanted to have Matt paste in a picture of, Sacha Baron Cohen's Borat during the reveal and have them react to it, but the reactions were less than stellar. Yeah.
Even the acting was kind of meh.
I mean, there were some reactions on a scene where the character saw him, but we didn't.
Yeah.
Early in the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
But that was about it.
Yeah, when they actually did the reveal, the Doctor's just like, meh.
Yeah, the Doctor couldn't really care much less about it. The only one that I think gave a genuine reaction was Mr. Wells.
To be fair,
and
that's
Perry.
Unless you're about to kill Perry, that's pretty much how the Sixth Doctor reacts to anything that wasn't his own idea anyway.
Egoist. Okay. So, Matt liked the Borad.
He's about the only genuinely good thing about this particular two-parter, yeah.
Tim.
Oh, what did I like? What didn't I like? I liked this episode. This was a great episode. I think you're all crazy.
And then we punch you.
Crazy. But I really liked, this episode showed how to work a budget. Because...
Awesome.
Because the effects they had were very immersive, especially the way they did the camera thing, where it pinches and stretches the frame when the time they're going through the time thing and
Corridor.
the time corridor. whatever. And then the shiny Timelash sparkle crystal things. And
Oh, you mean the icicles they used for it?
yep. hmm
You mean
And
the tinsel?
Look more
Yeah,
like
it was
rock
tinsel.
candy. Oh.
No, it was literally tinsel or the icicles that you put on a Christmas tree.
Yep.
Ah.
Yeah.
And all throughout this episode, I had the feeling of being a kid playing pretend Doctor Who, and I really liked that. Because I got the feeling that I could make these props and these costumes myself. So
Oh
That's
yeah,
awesome.
especially
That's
the
an
Alien
awesome thing.
Invader puppet.
Oh, I love the Alien Vader puppet. That was a great thing. Like just so it's like some episodes the budget hurts. I think they were able to adapt to the budget, and that's what I like about this episode the most.
This was the low budget episode serial, by the way, of this season.
I
It's so
can
good,
tell.
it's bad.
Okay, Bill, how about you? What did you like about this
I
episode?
liked the running references to the story that never happened. I feel like it helps give scope to the show and prove that there was more going on that wasn't quite exciting enough to be an episode on the screen, but the Doctor was still doing things other than just the serials we saw.
I would agree with you, Bill, if they had released that story as a companion novel.
I think it could be interesting.
All right, Aaron, how about you? What did you like?
I like Tekar.
Damn it, Aaron, that was mine. I actually
Someone had to take Rand's. It's kind of a rule at this point.
I agree with Aaron. I really like Tekar. He was played by the great Paul Darrow, which people might recognize as Avon from Blake's 7.
Ah.
Suddenly Matt goes, "Oh, that's who that was."
That's why he mentally clicks with me. That's why I know I've seen him somewhere before. Gotcha.
Yes, and he's very known for playing Magnificent Bastards. Because
Avon... Obviously, by this episode.
Avon is a magnificent bastard if you watch the show. He spends 4 seasons being a magnificent bastard.
Did he read his book? Oh.
No, but he ate the scenery.
Here he actually tried to not be Avon. He tried to play the character Tekar a la Richard III. And that actually got him in trouble with John Nathan Turner. Who was like, no, we don't want you to play it like this, play it this way. And then apparently, like a few years after the episode, John Nathan Turner came to him and said, yeah, you were completely right playing it that way because the script was shit. And
At least John Nathan Turner admits when he's wrong. I'll give him that much.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize it right away, but he'll come back to you and admit that he was wrong later if he was still around.
yes, Tekar is the one thing I actually like about this episode. He is the only thing I like about this episode.
Isn't it weird that the villains are the only things that we can really immediately point to and go, ah, yes.
Well, the fact is, though, Paul Darrow is particularly good at villainy. And this is the first time I've seen him not being an anti-hero. Because Avon is kind of an anti-hero.
Well, he kind of tries to pull an anti-hero at the very end when he suddenly realizes what the main guy's plan is. He's like, fuck you.
For about 10 underacted seconds. And then he died.
For about a moment there until he suddenly gets zapped too, so.
Like, what? You're going to kill all my people. I should stop you.
Well, he wasn't quite that wooden.
Don't keep watching after he dies. It's a very boring show.
That's actually what Paul Darrow said in the behind the scenes. Yeah, you can stop watching after I die because it gets boring. No ego on that, man. All right, and this is going to be a long topic. What didn't you like? Matt.
Oh, where to fucking start? Oh.
Pick one.
Okay, I'm gonna go with story. First of all, May I add that this very much felt like a episode of the Doctor going back to Paladon, but there was an episode in between that never happened.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they keep referring to this episode that was never written. It's never even been made into a novel or a Big Finish adventure.
And it
So-
featured the third Doctor revisiting a
apparently they
planet.
wrote this. Apparently, there was a novel about the story that took place before it, with Joe Grant and Mike, and the Doctor telling them that they were about to go to this planet. I forget what the name of it was.
Yes, but they never actually wrote the story itself.
Yeah.
Again, this really feels like it's missing an episode of Paladon somewhere in between, and then this was meant to be like a follow up to Paladon, but it fails so hard that it might as well not have been a Paladon episode anyways. So
Wouldn't it have been interesting if this had been Peladon instead of whatever world that this was?
it would have been more interesting and would have also
That
been more
definitely would have
memorable.
been interesting.
Mm.
Because at that point, you'd been taken over by the Borad, who would have been like half Abaddon.
Yeah, that would have made. Wow, that would have improved the script immensely.
Yes.
Alpha,
crap.
and then Alpha Centauri would be one step closer to being shipped with the Vervoids.
Or better yet, the aliens that are invading are Alpha Centaurians.
Yeah.
Boom.
They would be Ice Warriors. Who are you kidding?
Oh yeah, or Ice
Or,
Warriors.
or Ice Warriors, but I would have gone with the Alpha Centaurians just to give them something new to do.
They would have had.
Oh
to...
God, an army of penis costumes.
It still would have been better than the puppet.
It would have been so much better than the puppet.
The puppet was fantastic. You guys are high.
How did you know, Tim?
My psychic powers amaze all.
Tim, I think you need a puppet like that. You need it for your show.
Okay. So yes, the story lacks terribly. What didn't you like, Tim?
Oh my god.
I didn't like how the reveal of the Borad's real face was spoiled on the cover of my DVD.
Don't you love when they do that?
Yeah, well, he's right. They do spoil it.
I believe it.
Yeah.
But also, I found some of the acting to be a little wooden at times. Especially the moments when, like, they're the rebels are being thrown in the Timelash. Like, no, please, don't, stop.
And the
Stop,
silly
or
dances
I'll
they
say
do just
stop
before
again.
fake falling in.
Yeah.
Clever, clever, clever.
Will that be our meme every time the show does something really stupid?
Probably. Okay, Bill.
That's a callback I haven't heard in a while. Okay, anything involved?
Hang on, Bill.
Listen,
Bill,
Yeah.
you're really robotic right now.
Yeah, we're really losing you, Bill.
We're losing you, Bill.
Did Erin turn me into a Cyberman with her moon-based joke?
Just
Maybe.
about. All
Sounds
right,
like
am I
you're
better
reverting
now?
back though.
Yeah, you're better now. What were
Okay.
you saying?
Almost anything involving the Borad. He had a few interesting ideas, but his plan is so ridiculously convoluted, and that padding scene at the end where he just comes back from the dead, and
No, they actually explained that. That was actually a clone.
I know, but that doesn't make it
It was
less
like early
padding and less
transhumanism.
crap.
He re-sleeved himself. I actually was the same way as you on that until I thought, well, actually, with everything the doctor did, that was about an hour. An hour is about how long it takes for you to re-sleeve yourself. So, yeah, that's about right. So that didn't bother me
Just
as much.
the Borat in general. I mean, so much of his character was pointless. Like, not point, but like there was no logical reason for half of his plans and the things he wanted to do, and it just.
Well, that was kind of part of the point, was the fact that he was actually completely insane. I mean, he's one step from being, I am the Borat, I speak for the lizards.
If he was an eco-terrorist, I would have found him a lot more logical. If you're going to say that.
But I will say that they put some effort into his makeup at least.
Hmm.
Like the actual animal side of his face would actually move with the human side once in a while.
Yes, that was actually a fairly decent job,
True.
and it was fairly smooth.
Mhm.
Yeah, I disagree with the design, but it was pulled off well.
Yes. The design of it looks a little odd in places, but the actual pulling it off part was actually really well done. But yeah, some of his ideas were obviously cuckoo.
Mm-hmm.
It was like after this and Vengeance on Veros, they seem to have a thing for almost turning Perry into hideous monsters.
Aaron brought that up while we were
Yeah.
watching it.
Hmm. It seemed to be a running theme for a lot
And
of
don't
80s
forget
cartoons.
the Ronnie was going to turn Perry into a Luddite.
into
Oh
a tree.
yeah,
I do a tree too, a Luddite or a tree or both.
Oh.
yeah. Like
Hmm.
what do you call it? It was also a running theme in 80s cartoons. Like I mentioned April O'Neil in the original Ninja Turtles 80s show.
Yeah, she was turned into a cat at one point, wasn't she?
She was turned into a cat. She was turned into a fish person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys remember that.
I don't remember that
No,
one.
but really, with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, mutation itself was.
Yeah, I'm like if you were
Yeah.
a human in Ninja
Mhm.
Turtles, you were being turned into something.
Yeah.
Not quite
Well-
to the extent of the new show, but almost.
It's also kind of a running theme in the 80s overall. Like, there was a lot of talk of mutation and genetic manipulation and all that.
Street Sharks.
I'm trying to remember
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if the Cybermen in Attack of the Cybermen ever at one point threatened to turn Perry into a Cyberman,
It wouldn't have surprised me.
and if
Probably.
or if Davros threatened to turn Perry into a Dalek in Revelation.
I don't think that happened. That one I don't think
No.
happened.
I don't
but
think so.
I'm pretty sure she was threatened to be turned into a Cyberman more than once at some point.
Because it is kind of a recurring theme of turning Perry into something. So, Aaron, what was your least favorite part?
My least favorite part was the stupid shackles that she had to wear.
The one around her neck?
Oh,
or-
the one
Going
around her neck and stuff.
There's a reason why I said 50 Shades of Technicolor. It was
yeah.
that scene.
And it's
Yeah, that
just
was
like,
just really awkward.
what the hell is all that about? I mean, yes, it's kinky, but it's also so impractical for shackles. It just doesn't make any sense. Like,
Well, they're
and
not
then
meant to
they-
be comfortable.
Well, no, and then they hook her up to a series of bars. So, like, what? You just shackle a bunch of people close to each other like that?
They really
Yeah,
did want to
just-
make 50 Shades in there, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, was it really so low budget that they couldn't get a couple of prop handcuffs?
They couldn't have actually made, like, an actual jail type thing? Like, is there even a metal door that shuts behind her or any kind of
It's
door?
a sliding
like, it just-
door.
I don't know. It just seemed like she was just in this room that only had 2 walls to it.
Probably did because it was a stage set.
I know, but most stage sets tried to make some effort to cover that up.
No, they had at least 3 walls.
But they were on a very low budget at that point, and
Yeah.
they
They
mentioned
can't
that.
afford a third wall.
Or a fourth wall.
They were able to afford like 2/3 of a wall because I think the third wall is a window. I don't even think they had glass in it.
Okay, so what I hated was the androids.
Oh God, yeah. You mean
Yeah.
the one guy who keeps playing multiple androids?
Yeah, with the blue skin and the yellow hair, and they were obviously so bad at it that the BBC Radiophonic Workshop had to include sound effects for when he moved. I mean, not like sound effects like that. I mean, actual musical key
Yeah.
when he moved. And I'm sitting here every time I see one move in and move around. I'm sitting there going, oompa loompa doopa dee doo.
I've
'Cause
got
they
a
were-
blue face. I shoot lasers at you.
Pretty much. It's just, it looked so ridiculous.
They couldn't have at least afforded some kind of cheapo plastic mask to make it look more android-like or
Yeah.
robot-like. They couldn't have pulled a robot to death. Those masks couldn't have been that expensive to make.
They couldn't have put a freaking coffee can on his head? I don't know.
He looked
Yeah.
more. It would have been better if they just
Mm.
played him off as an alien, a subservient alien race.
I'm sure they
Yeah.
had 1 pound
Like, why would-
stores that sold Halloween masks.
Why would they design their robots to look blue?
Yeah.
Well, they were trying to create Super Android 13, but they didn't have the power level.
Damn it.
It literally did look like they basically supersized the Oompa Loompa and put stuff on it. You know, it was just absolutely annoying every time I saw a scene with one in it. And since no one else mentioned it, another thing that I disliked was the Timelash itself.
Oh, yes.
You had to gently
Fuck
step
that
into it.
Timelash.
Yes, here is this really dangerous vortex leading hither thither in space and time, and they can't
into it.
and they can't even be careful enough to put a safety rail around it.
Well, this is sci-fi. You don't put safety rails around things. Have you ever seen
Yes.
Star Wars?
No.
You ever
What
seen
really gets
Stargate? Their big transdimensional portal, they have an iris on it.
What
There's
really
no way of sealing that off. It just sits there on all the time.
What really gets me, though, is the fact that...
I'd hate to be the janitor in that room polishing it up. Whoops!
What gets me is that people even gingerly walk into it and disappear through time and space, but then the Doctor somehow, just because he has a rope, can
He had a
go
lifeline.
down in it and actually mess with like crystals inside of it or something. What the hell was that?
Yeah, and it freaking looked like the freaking wall on American Gladiators.
Actually, American Gladiators looked more badass than that wall ever will because it also had more tinsel on it.
But I mean, it was, that bad, and they couldn't even add a black and white reverse image frame for when the Doctor's in there. Technology that they were using back in 1963. Just to make it look at least some kind of distortions going on instead of him climbing down this absolutely horrible wall. And Colin Baker agrees it was a horror.
By the way, speaking of the Timelash, I do just want to mention Perry mentions that the Daleks had a time corridor. At least on screen, she doesn't meet the Daleks for the first time until the following week.
Yes.
Or 2 weeks.
Yes, but there's a reason for that those episodes were, I think, filmed in reverse order. So Timelash was one, I think, the last ones filmed. And it was aired
I guess they didn't want that to be the season finale.
Yeah, I think so.
There's that's a possibility, but there's also a possibility that more likely something like Big Finish has already filled in that plot hole too by now.
Yeah, but they didn't write it with the assumption that Bill Baggs or Big Finish was going to go and take care of it.
It could be surmised that maybe she's at least heard of them before and knows some telltale signs about them because the Doctor should really fill her in on that sort of thing.
You'd think that, but sometimes people are shocked by things he really should have told them about long ago.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that...
What do you mean a different face, Doctor?
Yep. I'm pretty sure that's a matter of being filmed out of order.
Yeah, I expect it is, but it's still a bit of a continuity error as aired.
Yep.
By the way, I just found the android guy without the makeup on.
Let me guess, he looks more like an android without the makeup.
Actually, he could almost pass as an android without the makeup, yes. He's also wearing this weird, shiny black coat. It's kind of odd. Anyway.
I really hate that.
At least I
Okay.
think it's him. It looks very close. Like he's maybe like 5-10 years have passed, maybe. Anyway.
All right. So, individual scene that you liked, Matt. Dig deep. Dig deep.
I think I'm gonna take somebody's.
Oh, dig deep into my soul. What scene actually was really good? You know what? I like the fact that the Doctor warned this guy not to try anything. Half lizard face not to do anything, but he still used the kill ray anyways. And the Doctor's like, you know what? Just because of that, fuck you too. Beep. 5, 4, 3, 2. No, zap. And that would have been a perfect end for a villain like that because he kind of deserved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Then,
they
Yeah.
had
then they
brought him.
decided to
Then
bring
they
in a
decided to
clone
pull
to
a,
pad
hey,
out
I
the
managed us to
episode.
do cloning, fuck you.
This is another one that would have worked better as 3 20-minute episodes than 245. I mean, yeah, than 245s.
Yeah.
By the way, this episode was also originally submitted to be a Dalek adventure, but
Oh.
Eric Soward had asked the author to resubmit it without them. So.
Although, I say that, but then again, if this was 3 20-minute episodes, the Doctor would not have showed up to where the action was until episode 2,
Yeah.
so that wouldn't have worked either. He did not actually show up to where the plot was happening until about 20 some odd minutes into the first episode.
Also, could you, even if they would have to rearrange things, but also could you imagine the kind of padding they would have done if they?
Well, I mean,
extended
it would have
things?
been 20 minutes shorter if they did that. That's why I said it.
But they're already running at breakneck.
It's
speed
a
half the
90-minute
time.
episode. If they made it into a 70-minute episode,
That was
I think it would have been shorter.
actually part of a problem. When they were done filming, they discovered they were 5 to 10 minutes short, and they had to fill some padding episodes. Several of the TARDIS scenes with the Doctor and Perry were padded into the episode.
That makes sense. Too bad that they were so shoddily written.
Is that
and
why they
came
keep
off as
bickering
the
into
Doctor
TARDIS
came
this
off as an
season?
asshole.
Every time they're short an episode, they add a scene of the Doctor and Perry fighting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It might have been. But I know. Actually, I think one of the scenes that was resubmitted long was the scene with Perry and the Doctor in the TARDIS, right before the Doctor is going off to stop the missile. Another thing is, and another reason why John Nathan Turner's a dick, was the fact that apparently Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant, because they were on contract with Doctor Who, that also required them to appear in John Nathan Turner's Christmas pantomime play that was ongoing, and John Nathan Turner had booked them during rehearsals for a convention in Chicago. So you can imagine having to do all three simultaneously.
God damn, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the reason that Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant's acting's a little subpar in this episode,
Also,
is
would you
because they
explain
were
why,
exhausted.
I was just gonna say that also reminds me of why he must have looked exhausted at one point in the middle of this particular story as well. I remember somewhere like towards the tail end of the second episode, his hair is just completely frayed. He looks god awful tired, and it's just like, whoa, what happened between scenes here?
Yes, they'd actually just gotten off the plane from Chicago and had to go straight into filming.
God
Yeah,
damn.
wasn't the trip to the convention, that was unsanctioned by the BBC or something?
Yeah, there was some issues there.
Like, they didn't want him to take them to that convention. There was issues, like, he wasn't supposed to be taking him to a con. For sure. He had like, smuggled them in there or something.
He didn't smuggle them in there. He just insisted enough, and eventually they
He
went.
insisted and paid.
It's a
paid for
little
their
hard to
tickets, I assume.
smuggle that coat anyway.
But
I
yeah,
just gotta make the effort.
no, with interviews with Nicola Bryant, she did not want to do the Christmas pantomime. But John Nathan Turner basically said it in a way that made it clear that her contract was pretty much, she would be in breach of contract if she didn't do it. So,
Fuck you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think we were in scenes that you liked. I believe we were at
Yep.
Tim.
I really liked the scene. Now, this might surprise some people, where Perry says, "Is that bad?" And the Doctor says, bad? Bad?
Yeah,
So
it's a-
you mean
yeah, it's a
the
repeat
exact
of the
same
previous
scene that
scene.
they've done in every serial this season?
And you
Oh,
wonder
and
why
don't
people
forget,
will
he comes
question
up
the quality of
behind
the
her.
show.
What?
But this is the first time he said bad.
No, this is the first time he did bad, crossed over to the other side of Perry, watched her relax, and then barked it again.
And she flinched
Yes.
like she expected him to beat the shit out of her.
Yes, exactly.
That just made me smile.
God damn it, Tim.
I'll be
I don't know
talking
how
more
to
about
take you
that in
seriously
about
on this
10
anymore.
minutes. 5 minutes, however long it takes to get there.
Okay, Bill, favorite scene you've.
I'm going to go with the scene, well, kind of the beginning of / right before the one Matt mentioned, the Invisible Man versus Dr. Moreau, as they're, kind of trading what they can do. And the doctor's like, yeah, I'm just going to do this and go fiddle with your machine while you're shooting at the hologram. And while we're, trading wit. And I enjoyed that scene.
Okay.
The Doctor just literally being one step
And
ahead of the
that's
enemy.
that's a scene that works for any doctor. The wit in the face of who the fuck knows what's about to happen, and but it was great here.
All right, Aaron.
I like the plant scene where he pretty much just shoves the supposedly deadly plant into the doctor's arms. Just here, take
And
this.
almost into his
Tekar
face.
does. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, we
They're very
didn't
toxic.
want you to
Here,
get too
hold this.
close to it. Yeah, it spits acid, so don't get too close to it. And Perry's like, well, maybe it shouldn't be on the floor. And the doctor's like, yeah, a little repotting, a little reprogramming. And Tekar just shoves the plant into the doctor's arms. He's like, I've got someplace else to be.
And okay, so my favorite scene was actually in two parts. It's where the one where the Tekar and his little suck up guard are talking in there, and he's building up the guard. Yes, you'll be my assistant and everything.
You're perfect.
Oh,
And then
yes.
He's the traitor.
turns into the Borat. It's like, actually, it's because he failed.
Yes.
Because it is absolutely perfect Paul Darrow.
He is the traitor. He is the reason why all of this has happened. Kill him.
You lie! You said I was going. Yeah. It was absolutely perfect, Paul Darrow. So I was fond of that scene. It's one of the few scenes I liked. Okay, and the long one here. Scenes you don't like. Matt.
What?
Name one.
God damn it, can't I just list the entire episode and be done with it?
No. You have to name one scene in particular that sticks in your craw.
You know what? The first time the Timelash just started. From word go, I'm just sitting here going, wow, these are effects I could do without any effort. Oh god, there they go, and they look like they're barely dancing into the machine and disappearing. Gee, I wonder why they make them disappear so fast. Maybe because it looks really silly.
Yeah, we didn't really expect good effects from Doctor Who until, 2006?
You don't expect great special effects, but you expect something better.
Yeah,
tinfoil and a ball of string.
Even the 2005 series was a little hit or miss with some of its CGI.
Yeah, some of the CGI was kind of bad.
Like the plastic dustbins in Rose.
I wasn't too fun.
The mighty Jagrafest.
Yeah.
The Jagrafest didn't bother me that much.
Jagrafest wasn't that bad. He was used sparingly.
I didn't really like the monsters, and was it the one where Sarah Jane Smith is reintroduced?
Oh,
I didn't mind those either.
There's a couple clips of those. Sometimes they look pretty good, but sometimes it's clear
sometimes they look good, and sometimes they look kind of slapdash.
Yeah, but at that same season though, you also had that werewolf that was unbelievable.
Yes.
Yeah, the werewolf was really good.
Okay, we were at somebody's least favorite scene.
Right, I was supposed. Oh, I just did. So it's either Tim or Bill.
Tim.
Tim.
Right. I didn't like the scene at the end where it's implied that the Borad is the Loch Ness monster. Because
One of the Loch Ness monsters, because one of them's a robot.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, wait, didn't we already establish that the Loch Ness monster was a robot? And so what?
So-
Is the Borad going to grow to be like a gigantic thing? Because isn't the Loch Ness monster supposed to be big?
He's gonna make love to a robot.
Might.
Oh,
You
I
know,
didn't
I
need
just-
that mental image, Matt.
I just thought this is I mean the shoehorning H.G. Wells thing was enough. You didn't have to like have another like wink wink nudge nudge type.
Did H.G. Wells ever write a story about the Loch Ness monster?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of either.
Hmm.
Might have been a short story stashed away somewhere. You never
Yeah,
know.
that stuck in a lot of people's craw, Tim, and I believe that was either retconned by Big Finish or the novels later, and saying that he was actually killed by like a member of the Celestial Intervention Agency after arriving on Earth to try to keep the timeline pure.
Good old Big Finish.
Yeah, the
fixing
fact
problem,
that
like,
the
in
fact
a
that the
wink of an eye.
doctor was just like, I didn't have a problem with the Loch Ness thing, but the fact that the doctor was just like, oh, a genocidal maniac. Well, let's just let him loose on Earth.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem.
All right, Bill, your least favorite?
Tim's favorite scene. Because one, we've seen versions of this scene in literally every single episode this season and the finale of the season before. And two, they take the potential domestic abuse angle even farther with Perry. I mean, based on what we've discussed, she might have just been tired out of her mind, but Perry very clearly does not feel safe around the doctor when he's in this mood. And I'm just like, it makes me squirm, the entire idea. Just like, you get the idea that the twin dilemma is not the last time the doctor choked the shit out of her for no reason.
Yeah.
God.
Doctor Who, bringing you domestic abuse. All right, Aaron?
No, they're all so terrible.
Gotta pick one though. Which one stood out, Aaron? Something god awful about this episode comes to mind, and which one is the first thing that comes to mind?
Oh, the parts of the Draggy dialogue where he's trying to convince Perry to leave.
That was part of the scene that I mentioned that they did while completely and totally exhausted, and we're only doing it to fill out the episode.
Yeah, because it ran 5 minutes short according to the documentary we watched.
Yep.
Yep, that's, for me, that's just kind of meh.
All right, so my least favorite part of this episode is the fact that they have this whole plot with the doctor stopping the missile with the TARDIS, and Perry's like, how did you survive? Oh, that's a very interesting story, Perry, that I'll explain later.
I feel like this episode is the main reason for that subplot in Fatal Death.
Yes, but this one's even worse because it's an indicator that the writer actually had no idea how the doctor would survive.
True.
And just immediately just hand waved it. If it's
Which is funny because they had a Chekhov's gun to use with the whole, earlier in the episode they were talking about the TARDIS being indestructible. He could have just been like, well, the TARDIS was more stable than I thought it was. Ha ha ha. And that would have been a better explanation. It would have been kind of crap, but it would have been a better explanation.
I was able to reinforce the TARDIS force field at the last moment and direct it against the missile. Same amount of line space, and it would be enough to go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
By the way, I can't agree more with the Third Doctor's expression in this episode. Do you remember how he looked in this episode? Here, let me remind you.
But no, just the fact that they actually said "I'll explain later" to something that was an important plot point. Using the Doctor saying "I'll explain later" to something that the Doctor has explained to previous companions 1,000 times before, in order to save time, I can deal with
Or
that.
sometimes they use it about like facts about the planet that
Aren't plot relevant.
would be exposition if he had bothered, but they weren't relevant exactly.
But this was a plot relevant point that they hand waved, making it basically a complete and utter Deus Ex that the Doctor is alive. And that just sticks into my craw badly because it's an indication of bad writing. And by the way, the writer that did this was pretty much a rank amateur. He had done 2 screenplays before this for I forget what, but not a major science fiction or even a major drama. This was his first major drama writing, because of course John Nathan Turner didn't like to hire established writers because they were too expensive.
I thought that wasn't Peter Sayward's call to make.
No, Sayward. That's actually part of one of the reasons that Sayward and Nathan Turner were on were at odds with each other, leading to him quitting the following season.
He had written 2 episodes of Angels, and depending on the month, he wrote some episodes of EastEnders that same year, but they may have been after Doctor Who. And that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, basically he had done the 2 episodes of Angels, and that was it.
Although to this day, it looks like he's written what? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And well, counting this as 2, he's written 10 screenplays for television to date. So he never really made it anywhere.
No. So, well, if this is an example of his writing, you can see why.
No kidding.
Because you could drive a freaking bus through the plot holes in this.
They tried to kill me with the forklift.
What plot holes? This was as airtight as the Titanic.
Glub,
And
glub,
just
glub,
as
glub,
unsinkable. Oh, dear.
I see a certain flaw in this ship. It seems to be about as big as the ship itself.
Can't get me, said the Titanic to the iceberg. Crunch.
I hate the word impenetrable. It's like the word unsinkable. What's wrong with unsinkable? Nothing, said the iceberg to the Titanic. What's that?
Glub.
Glub, glub, glub. That's an actual Doctor Who quote.
From Robot, if I recall.
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct.
Not one of our favorite episodes, but
It's not a flawless episode, but it's
No, but
Tom
Tom Baker was one of our favorite things about the episode.
and that's one of his quotes. So
yeah, it's a very, and that's a very Adamsian quote. I've always loved Adam's quote about how traveling through hyperspace is uncomfortably like being drunk. Well, what's so uncomfortable about being drunk? Ask a glass of water. It's that same offbeat humor. It's why Doctor Who, when Adams was screenplay, was so brilliant, or was when Adams was the head scriptwriter, because the fact that you had that humor, and that's the same humor that John Nathan Turner killed. Dead.
And then he replaced it
Although
with
apparently,
H.G. Wells
yeah,
coming after people with crosses.
Although apparently,
Actually, that scene also made me laugh. That scene where H.G. Wells is trying to banish the Doctor, and the Doctor's just
the first part of
ignoring
it where
him.
he's trying to bash him, yes, but afterwards when he tries to race after the Doctor, it just kind of felt a little
Where
too
he tries to clock him with a book.
Yeah.
And that's actually the part I laughed at.
Mm.
Because he tried to clock him, and the Doctor just steps sideways and still completely ignores him.
Actually, I could see
Yes.
Colin Baker flinching, so he didn't
I
completely
I
ignore
didn't
it.
see him flinch, but yeah.
Whose least favorite scene were we at?
We're done. We're
We're
actually
done.
killing
Okay.
a little time before final thoughts.
Got you. Okay, I thought we had more to go. That's why.
No, that's right. We
Speaking of
started
which, we
late.
should actually probably get to final
Yeah, we
thoughts here
started
pretty
20
quick.
minutes late.
Mhm.
Yeah, we started about 10, 15 minutes late.
We started about 20 to
Yeah,
25.
we started at the 20.
So I was just trying to kill another 4 minutes. Kes going on about how bad this is. I mean, I warned you guys that this episode was bad.
Like I said, my expression as to just how to feel about this particular episode is just look at the Third Doctor.
This is not as bad as other episodes we've seen. I'm still going to rate it above Journey to the Center of the TARDIS.
Oh, yeah. It's
which
not quite
is
that bad,
a complete total train wreck.
I thought I was going to be the high voter this week, but I don't think that's the case anymore. Because of certain comments that somebody's made, I think they're going to vote higher than me.
I don't know how he can vote that high. Unless he's been literally joking the entire time, but
I can't tell.
I'm not entirely sure because
I
he
honestly
is sort
can't
of an
tell
actor.
I can't tell anymore. It's very hard to tell deadpan humor over the internet.
We get the final ratings, Tim. I give it a 1.
All right. Thus
don't think
said,
he'll
since
vote
we are
that
now
low,
discussing the final ratings, let's go ahead and go on to final thoughts.
We might as well.
All right, Matt.
It's a shame because there are bits and pieces here and there that are actually generally pretty good. Problem is that they are from people literally going off script and just doing what they do best, usually. The problem is that this was a very sloppily written script that feels like it could have been much improved if it contained a few elements from previous stories that we've recently actually mentioned, and just actually gone somewhere with it, and instead it wasted our time for about an hour and a half. It's just such a sloppy story that just it wet the bed, like, even halfway through the first episode, and just continued to spin the wheels throughout the rest of it. This was pretty awful. I think that's about all I can really say.
Now for the rebuttal.
Tim
for the rebuttal.
I liked this episode a lot. I thought besides some of the wooden acting, the props and the effects were creatively done, and I liked how time travel was used in this episode, and especially like the whole 10-second trick.
Oh yeah, that 10-second trick was nice. It's probably the best part of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like how the Doctor was able to use his magic rope to enter a time corridor.
Without
See
actually slipping into it.
Without slipping into it. See that's the reason it worked, because the rope was magic.
The elves make it? How did that rope come to be?
Yeah, but I had a smile on my face when I was watching this episode, so I can't complain about it.
All right, Bill.
This episode felt to me like watching an episode of Futurama, where they just kept filling it in with jokes and references about H.G. Wells, and I smiled or laughed at, I think, most of them. There were definitely plenty of dumb things, but I definitely enjoyed watching the Doctor, inventing things, facing off against the Borad, the whole, at least personally putting together, the pieces of the Borad's plan to figure out what was going on. Even though his plan was stupid, figuring it out was kind of enjoyable. But altogether, I found it to be a fun episode with a lot of flaws.
Aaron?
I'm going to kind of agree with Bill and Tim in that I actually did kind of find this serial to be a bit fun. The first part was definitely a bit more dull than the second part. The villains were likable and very reflective of the 80s. The special effects were pretty cheesy, as we kind of were expecting from Doctor Who, sadly, at the time. This was no longer the time of awesomeness, that's for sure. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff wrong, but I'm gonna say that it's kind of so bad it's good almost.
All right. So my thought is the fact that this episode is actually a bit of a train wreck. The script is poor. The actors are tired and worn down. The sets are drab and colorless. And the special effects, even for Doctor Who in the 1980s, were particularly bad. It pretty much fails all the way through. The first episode is in particularly terrible, with it basically completely and totally failing to get your attention almost all the way through. The second one does hit a slight turn up, but by that point, the episode itself is so muddled and mired in its own continuity, it can only slightly redeem itself in that aspect. The only good part of the episode is the acting of Paul Darrow, which is done over the top, but is at least a remarkable reprieve from most of the other colorless acting. The Borad's actor wasn't bad either, but he didn't have much to do other than sit in a chair.
Oh, you
He
didn't like
did the
Herbert?
best he could for sitting in a chair, though. You have to give him
Yeah.
that. Also, I was actually going to bring up those sets, too. And by the way, script writer, just because you mention a line about how drab the sets are, doesn't mean you can get away with it. It's still
All right.
sloppy scripting and sloppy set design.
All right, Matt, your rating.
It gets 2 points for having two generally decent actors as our main villains, and they are entertaining as the villains, and gets a half a point for being at least mildly entertaining in the so bad it's good way. So I can only really honestly give it about 2.5. It's not what I want out of a Doctor Who episode.
I'd consider that generous, but all right.
Yeah.
We're going to be all over the board on this one.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure. All right. Tim?
Mainly just so I can keep some of your respect, I'm going to...
Give us what you think, Tim.
Give us what you think, Tim.
5.
I swear to God.
Go for it.
I want to give this a 5. I'm going to give it a 5. 5
Yes.
Come on!
Oh my
stars.
word.
Because this was just a goddammit fun episode.
All right, Bill.
I'm going with a 3.5, which I thought was going to be the significant outlier toward the top, but Tim stole that.
Aaron?
I'm actually going to push mine from a 2.5 to a 3. I'll give it a 3.
All right.
Average.
And I am going to say it's a 2 even, because I don't even think it deserves that half point. Paul Darrow's acting is really the only thing that shines with it for me, so... that actually, thanks to the unprecedented 5 for an episode which he said had flaws, averages it out to a 3.2. Which, based in the rankings, a 3.2 is going to put this with the Pandorica Opens, the Big Bang, the Power of the Daleks, and oddly enough, Robot. It is going to make it above Earthshock and below Evil of the Daleks, In the Forest of the Night, and Planet of the Daleks.
Still sad that Power of the Daleks got so low. I know why, and it's honestly not the fault of the people who made it, but...
So, The total ranking overall,
I liked our shock more than this.
I'm still in shock, by the way, from this actually getting this high. Because this, by the way, is considered by many reviewers to be the worst episode of Classic Who.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I'm pretty sure there's worse out there.
No, I mean, by reviewers, it is considered to be. It is apparently a very divisive episode that you either hate it or you love it. And it's going to come in at number 97 of 139 episodes reviewed.
Alright.
So even with that being above half, it's still fairly low on our rankings.
Me gets the feeling some people are too friendly to some episodes. But then again, we don't have a lot of low hitters yet either.
I keep aiming for a few low hitters, and somebody goes, "I love them."
Ha ha ha!
The best laid plans of mice and men, Rad.
I just see it now.
Delaney.
All right, Terror of the Vervoids. We're finally going to get a low rating. Tim, I love this episode. 5 out of 5.
Tim, by the way, has given us more 5s than I think anybody on the podcast has ever given. This season alone, he's given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 5s.
He just
Dang,
really loves
damn.
Doctor Who.
I'm a generous, giving man.
I'm going to have to turn into Jay Sherman at this point.
It stinks.
Pretty much. And now we're reviewing Genesis of the Daleks. It stinks.
Just
I
make
would
sure
use
everything.
this episode to wipe my ass. Yeah.
Everything has
I
to
would
even
feed
out.
this DVD to the dogs, but then I'd be worried that the DVD would kill it.
All right. So I think that's all we have to say about Timelash. Bill?
Yep. If you enjoy listening to us, please like our videos on YouTube and subscribe on twitch.tv/Unearthly Podcast and it's not youtube.com/Unearthly Podcast because YouTube changed their naming conventions, but an Unearthly Podcast on YouTube. You can also like and follow for news and updates on Facebook at facebook.com/Unearthly Podcast and twitter.com/Unearthly Pod. I hope I don't have that backward. Shouldn't be that hard to figure out if I have it
You're the
backward.
one that set all this up, Bill. This is why I don't do these, because I would have no idea what to do.
Normally, I don't say the whole URLs, but I try to every so often. And if you want to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/Unearthly Podcast and throw your pocket change at us, which would be about the budget of Timelash.
Please patronize us.
All right. So next week, with season 22 under our belt now, we're going to go back in time to the 70s as we start a review of the Doctor's third most common enemies, the Sontarans, with The Time Warrior, written by Robert Holmes and starring John Pertwee and Elizabeth Sladen.
Let's do the Timelash again. Oh.
No. Let's never do the Timelash again. How about we dig a special little grave for it out in the backyard and never speak of it again? Poor little Vengeance on Varos keeps going out there visiting and it just cries.
That could be taken so many wrong ways.
Oh, you mean like the